Hello everyone and welcome back to AOR PS4 F2. We're here for round 7 at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and joining me in the commentary box as ever is Shane.
Heyo! So, we're at Hungary. Chances are it's going to be a little bit less action-packed than the great race that we had in Spain. And now, a week on from that race, we can confirm the standings as I quickly find them. Here they are.
Just to clarify, Spain was 2 weeks ago, Silverstone was a week ago, but yeah, go on.
Did I say Spain?
Yeah.
I meant Silverstone. I said Silverstone in my mind. Anyway, so the H-Eagle was declared the winner after disconnecting on the penultimate lap. It was declared the winner. VP Vettel Racers penalty was added on completely, so the 5-second dropped him back to 6th. Missed out on 5th by just under half a tenth. Not triggering at all, I would imagine.
Yeah, slightly irritating for him, but overall in the championship that means Tactician has a 4-point lead over Iceman, and with Stocky unable to attend again, this just gives an opportunity for the Red Bull and Renault to further extend their lead over him in the championship. And the H-Eagle, well, if he can maintain the form that he showed in Silverstone, then he can definitely get himself in this fight. Currently 31 points off Tactician, but another win today would leave him in a good position, as after today we are sort of at the halfway mark. Obviously with a 15-round season, we can't obviously get that number exactly. But nevertheless, all the drivers coming out for the start of quali, and it looks dry at the moment.
So, I wonder, we've only got 12 drivers. It seems very, very quiet. So, it's going to be a massive brawl out for the lower end of the top 10, obviously, with less drivers this weekend. Who's the first man out on track? I think it's Semi Selleck in the Sauber, someone who's not had a massive great deal of fortune so far this season. But how do you see the session going, Dan? Who's your bet for pole?
Well, I obviously got an awful amount of lag on board with Semi Selleck there, where hopefully that sorts itself out. Might try and find a different driver. If I look back to last season, Iceman did very, very well here. Performed very well. Only finished, I think it was around about 8 tenths off the win. And that was back when Clay was in F2, who was very strong for this league. So he performed very well around this track. So if he can repeat something like that today, then I think he'll be doing very well. As Semi Selleck comes into turn 1, tries to find the apex and then heads down towards turn 2. Obviously Tactician will obviously be up there, but with him using the pad, it's a track though he's definitely going to struggle at in comparison to most of them, considering the tight, twisty nature of this circuit.
Yeah, so I'm Tactician, obviously he's championship leader. I'm the one, I'm watching him at the minute as he's about to start onto his lap. He's what's the mindset going into this race? Obviously, as you said, is it just damage limitation, considering the odds are against him in terms of the input device that he's using?
Yeah, he's definitely got a slight disadvantage heading to this one compared to most tracks. Obviously, the good news for pad users is that there's no Monaco or Canada on the calendar this year, which definitely helps them out. Sorry, this season, I should say. So that definitely helps them out. But this is definitely one of the tracks that they'll struggle at most. Semi Selleck comes round the final corner to post the first time of this session, and it's a 17.6 as a benchmark. So a pretty respectable opening run, but I suspect we'll see people go slightly quicker than that. Jundu comes round the final corner. I think he's on a lap as RC Griggs goes on to provisional pole with a 17.5, and Jundu trumps all the three that have set a time so far with a 17.4. As try and find someone coming towards the end of the lap, as the H-Eagle, who obviously took pole and the win last time out, now puts it on provisional pole with a 17.3. As McGrady comes round the final corner, went up to third there, McGrady set to 17.0. Wow, that is a benchmark for the start of this session.
He had good pace. Where was it? He was the other. Yeah, he got pole in Bahrain as well. So his qualifying pace is definitely there. Missed out on the win by just over half a second as well in Bahrain. So the pace, he has got the pace in that McLaren. Question is, can he hold on to that? They'll probably just get faster, obviously, with the track evolution as well. So we can probably expect sub-16s. This tactician is second as well. It looks like to me these guys are going around for another. Some of these guys are going around for another lap. Tactician's up on his time by 10th in the first sector as well. So all to play for.
Yeah, I'm just following the pole man from Spain and VP Better Racer, who's down in 11th as McGrady pulls out of the way on the right hand side there. VP Better Racer showed good race pace last time out in Silverstone, but was just unfortunate in the qualifying section, just couldn't put it anywhere near the front to repeat what he showed in Spain. As he slides round the final corner, opens up that DRS. Let's see where that puts him. He goes up to third with a 17.2, so he's definitely in that fight towards the top end. As Tactician, even though you said he was a 10th up, has shown to come into the pit lane.
Yeah, I think he had a bit of a scruffy middle sector, so he's abandoned that lap. Iceland went on to another lap and went up to 5th. Slight improvement, only by 10th. Now I'm currently watching. Well, Jamie James is near the end of the lap, so I'm going to switch to him.
Yeah, he's just made a massive mistake into turn 14, went completely off the track. So I don't think he'll be on anything like a representative lap, as ex-Caribbean Crush is a 10th up on a time that he hasn't set, so he must have got the previous one invalidated. He's now 1.8 up in the middle sector. Obviously, we don't know what that compares to, as come through turn 14, gets a slight bit of oversteer on exit though. Then into the long corner of turn 15. Really not a fan of that one as a driver, and Caribbean Crush pits, but yeah, turn 15 feels like it goes on forever. You really need to take a late apex there, and it's just such a difficult corner to nail. One you can definitely lose a lot of time at.
How many corners are on this track? I could have sworn it was 14.
Well, according to Google, there is varying degrees of corners. I'm
pretty sure there's 14.
So, yeah, so...
I think Google's lying to you.
Well, some classify it as 14, some classify it as 16. So...
I'm pretty sure the ones that are 16 are wrong.
Okay, well, we're gonna go with 14 then. I mean, there are... Yeah. So on the turn 16 track map, as everyone else is coming to the pit lane, so we can just, yeah, everyone is in the pits with 4.5 minutes left to go. Drivers is strapping on a new set of super soft tyres and then coming out the pit lane again as someone is actually coming out the pits. Yeah, so some were classifying the slight kink on the rundown between turn 1 and turn 2 as a corner, and then also they were classifying. Okay, and then. I don't know which one other one they were classifying as a corner, but you know,
it's probably where it's probably at the first sector checkpoint, that little right hand kink.
Yeah.
That they classify it, but yeah, there are definitely 14 corners officially at this track. Anyway, let's have a look at Semi Selic, because I think he's out on the track about to start. Oh, he's already on a lap into turn 1.
Yeah. Very, very wide actually at the final corner, trying to set himself up for a good run, but what he actually did was get so far wide that he just understeered on like the extra tarmac that you get, and that really hindered his run onto the start-finish straight. But nevertheless, as he runs uphill in towards turn 4, it's a really difficult corner to nail, especially on this game because he had to take such high speeds in quali. In towards turn 5, and he just try and find the traction in towards this chicane. Can definitely win a lot of time through there if you nail the line. Then into this middle sector, it's all 90-degree corners, and there's literally one line that you've got to be on to nail it, and Semi Selic just wasn't on it in this middle sector, just ran slightly wide, and that's hindered him through the entire middle sector. Down into turn 12 then, and down into 4th gear he goes. So I'm using 3rd there, but the Sauber driver chooses to use fourth, then into the penultimate corner, and then through to this final corner. Let's see if he can improve on his time of a 17.6. Comes towards the line, improved by a tenth to a 17.5, but that's not really that competitive considering how big track evolution is on this game.
Yeah, I think his next lap isn't going to be a representative one either. So, let's look at someone who's at the top. Jundu going to the middle sector of the lap into turn 5. Looks pretty stable, a little bit wide, a little bit tail happy on the exit. He took a lot of speed into that chicane. It cost him some exit speed, and I think he's on the pad as well. So both Red Bulls on the pad.
Yeah, I mean obviously these drivers can be competitive around here. It is slightly hindering, but Jundu was really struggling throughout this middle sector. Down into turn 12, just once again getting a lot of overseeing. You'll see the drivers get a lot of this. It's just the way the setups work on this game. With the high ballast you've got to run, if you stretch the limits too much, then you just get oversteer on corner exit, and that is going to cost you a lot of time as Jundu comes towards this line, and he goes up into P2 with a 17.1. Drivers not finding a lot of time on these second runs.
I just gone onto. I went on board with VP McGrady, who, judging by how he's driving, is on his next flying lap. The speed that he carried through turn 4 was something else. The cars just drifted through turn 4. Caribbean Crush goes up to third. Very nice lap time. And the H-Eagle goes fastest on the 16.8, so he's done a very good lap. Yeah, I'm just looking at McGrady. I'm staying with him for the end of the lap. His middle sector was very, very sweet indeed. And I can only assume that he's up on his previous lap. What time? He's a little bit wide, missing the apex, the last corner slightly. Across the line he comes. It's pole, a 16.5.
That's a good lap. That is a very impressive lap time from the McLaren driver. It's Caribbean Crush has run wide at the end of the middle sector. Sorry, won't cost him a lot of time as long as he hasn't got his lap invalidated. Obviously still 25 seconds to go in this session, so drivers who are coming towards the line now will have one more attempt at it. But Jundu has chosen to come into the pit lane. He feels he can't improve on that 17.1. Obviously the tyres starting to run out as Caribbean Crush beats the Red Bull driver. He goes up into third with a 7. As Tactician comes towards the line, and he now goes up into third with a 16.9. Try and find Ice, who needs to find a big improvement as he currently finds himself all the way down in 9th.
Right, I'm going to have a look at. He's gone wide at the top of turn 4 as well, hasn't he?
That's his lap over.
Look at the sector times. Oh, it's definitely over now.
Yeah, he got it invalidated anyway. If you run back there, the track limits are quite harsh, so he'll have definitely got that one invalidated. And well, who else can now challenge the McLaren driver for pole? But it's going to have to be some lap, because that looked like a very good one for the McLaren driver. Just had it all hooked up in that middle sector, and it's such a challenging circuit is the Hungarian ring, but when you hook it up like that, the lap time just rewards you. As VP Veta Racer goes through the middle sector quite nicely there, and coming in towards turn 11, slightly missing the apex, but he's still looking good on the run down towards turn 12. He's also down in 8, so he needs a big improvement. Well, not in terms of lap time, but if he finds a couple of attempts, then he'll at least go up around about 4 or 5 positions. Getting a little bit... Sorry, go on.
I'm watching Tactician about to cross the line. It's important for him to get second at least. He does go second by 13 thousandths.
And VP Veta Racer could only manage P6. Only found a 10th and a half. The final sector did look a little bit scruffy. And obviously we didn't catch all of his first sector, but nevertheless McGrady with a very impressive pole time of a 16.5. It's going to be difficult for anyone to hold with him in the race. Tactician puts it on the front row. Our championship leader, the H-Eagle, he's pinned P3, ex-Caribbean Crush 4th, Jamie James 5th, VP Veta Racer 6th, Jundu 7th, RC Griggs 8th, Cronex is 9th, Iceman once again another poor qualifying session from the Renault. He's got a lot to do in the race. Professional 11th, and Semi-Selic is 12th.
10th must genuinely be the worst place to start on a league race, because you haven't done, you know, enough to be on the softest tyres. I know it makes less of a difference on this game than previous ones, but it takes away the opportunity to do something different, because obviously you're just one place out of that chance of doing something different. So it just must sting being qualifying in 10th place.
Yeah, I mean, back to, if you look back to F1 2016, like, even if you were starting 7th, you would rather start 11th, considering how much of a strategy advantage it was to usually start on the middle or harder compound. But on this game, yeah, I mean, obviously just the tyre wear as well. These drivers will have an extra 5, 6, possibly even like around about 8% on the tyres, which just hinders you during the race. But nevertheless, we are getting ready for the race start here. And I think Tactician's best opportunity to make a move on McGrady is down into towards turn 1, but we'll see if he's racing enough to get that move done. But we have the McLaren on pole position. The five lights are coming on here in Hungary. And it's lights out. Away we go. The drivers need to be held for an absolute eternity there as they get off the start line. But it does seem to be a good start from the McLaren of McGrady as we head on the run down towards turn 1. Tactician trying to get into that slipstream. McGrady breaks very late. Holds on to P1. The H Eagle looking round the outside of Tactician, but can't move that, making that one stick, and holds on to Ex-Caribbean Crushing just behind. There's a Haas up the inside of Ex-Caribbean Crush through turn 2. Can the Haas make that move stick, as Ex-Caribbean Crush will have the inside line for turn 3? And that Haas is actually coming under pressure himself, as that's Jundu trying to make it a move, as VP of that race is at a flying start. He needs to win to P6.
Yeah, Jundu tried to go around the outside of Caribbean Crush on the entrance to turn 4, and now he's made another mistake, which is going to put him all the way down to 11th. Just lost the back end out of the chicane, and from looking like the hero on the first lap, he's now down in 11th place, lost 4 places, and I don't think there's a real big winner in that. Both Semi-Select and Iceman are up 2 places, Griggs up a place as well, but the biggest loser is definitely Jundu, who's dropped back down to 11th.
Yeah, I need to correct myself. I forgot that VP that racer improved at the end of qualifying there. I thought he started down in 9th, and he's actually gone nowhere from P6 on the grid, as McGrady out front already has a 7/10 advantage, but all the action seems to be happening in behind, as we've now got the Renault of Iceman in the slipstream of Griggs, heading down towards turn 1. Griggs put a little bit of a squeeze onto Iceman on the apex of turn 1, and holds on to P7 for the time being. And now Iceman's under threat from the Ferrari of Crow Nexus, but surely Iceman could just hang it round the outside of turn 2, and indeed he does. And he hangs on to P8 as there's a very wide Staub in the background there. Don't know what happened to him through turn 4, but he's lost well, I don't know if he's lost any positions, but just lost a lot of time through that. Yeah,
he lost 2 places. Absolutely no idea what happened, because he's just appeared in my camera shot. He's just flying off the racetrack. Anyway, just going on Iceman quickly. He's got some tough work to do. Obviously, second in the championship. Has not failed to finish outside the top 5 so far this season, and but is still yet to win a race. Obviously, it's going to be very hard to win from the position that he's in. But if he wants to keep that fancy old record, he needs to start making some overtakes by making a more comfortable move on Griggs. I'd say he could have probably just lifted off the brakes as he gets very wide through the last corner. He's not going to have a chance on Griggs this time around, although VP Vettel Racer might have a chance on his teammate into turn 1. Not quite close enough to go for a lunge. As we start lap 3, DRS enabled. VP Vettel Racer is in 6th place, right behind his teammate. Yeah, VP McGrady as well, outside the DRS zone of everyone behind him, and starting to break away up at the front. The H Eagle is now almost all over the back, the Tactician in 2nd.
Yeah, the H Eagle looking quite racy at the start of this one, as McGrady already has a 1.4 second advantage out front. It does appear that Tactician is slightly holding up the Toro Rosso driver, and obviously if he has any sort of the pace that he had last week in Silverstone, then he's definitely getting a little bit frustrated behind that Red Bull currently. As we head through the middle sector, and obviously DRS activated, he'll definitely have a chance down the pitch track. It's also worth noting that both drivers who started outside the top 10 have gone for that soft tyre, but even if you start inside the top 10, I think it's still a pretty easy one stop for these guys today. But through turn 13, and the H will drop back a little bit, but it might still have an opportunity down the pit straight, but just and turn 1, and no move there from the Toro driver. Iceman is still stuck behind R6 in the P7. Alex will be getting DRS assistance off the hatch just ahead of him, which is definitely going to help him defend this position. Kronex is a slightly drop back from these guys battling ahead, and the two guys who are starting on the soft compound tyre are also losing time. Honestly, they will slowly gain a tyre at this rate, and you'd expect to back them, especially at these guys who are fighting for the lower end points. But out front, and McGrady is continuing the form that he showed in quali, currently at 1.9 second advantage over Tactician, and the H-Eagle still in P3.
Yeah, I'm currently watching the battle between the two Haas cars. Obviously, Haas 4th in the Constructors' Championship at the moment. Not that far behind Renault, just 35 points this early stage in the season. And so far, in the first 5 races, these guys have been pretty evenly matched, apart from the dominant win that VP Better Racer got in Spain. But I'd say, of the two Haas cars at the moment, VP Better Racer has a lot more better pace, as Jamie James looks like he's a bit out of control, I'll be honest. He's sliding a lot and wearing those tyres out. But it's really it's quite hard to overtake on this game anyway. But around this track, it's oh, he's let him through.
Oh.
So, interesting. I wonder if they've managed to communicate that somehow, or whether Jamie James just knows that there's no point holding his teammate up. It's a very generous thing to do, especially this early in the race.
I mean, for all we know, they are in a party chat, sort of exchanging this information between them, and they've come to the realisation that it just more sense for Puvetta Racer to try and have an attack on Caribbean Crush and the HE got ahead of him. Yeah, I mean, it's good sportsmanship by James anyway, because obviously, I mean, these drivers, especially in league racing, you're fighting for yourself more than the team, really. I don't think anyone cares too much about the Constructors' Championship, so, yeah, I mean, it's fair play for Jamie James, because he's not really under threat from anyone behind either, as McGrady continues to set a blistering pace out front, into the low 1 minute 20s, and there's a 2.8 second gap over Tactician.
Let's have a quick rundown then. So, as Dan just said, Iceman and Griggs battling for 7th, and Iceman is going to get past Griggs. He's got the DRS, so he's got better straight line speed on the run out of turn 2, sorry. And Griggs comes back at him, gives him a bit of a bang in the side of the car. And Iceman has made that move stick, so he is up into 7th place and now can start making inroads up the road. And he's done what he did in Spain, I believe, where he's underfueled the car again. So he's underfueled it by almost 2 laps compared to, I think, pretty much everyone who's overfueled it. No, VP McGrady's underfueled it as well. So very interesting choices on the fuel. I don't know if it really has an effect, but it's helped Iceman get past Griggs at the moment, and Griggs actually looks like he's just struggling with pace at the moment, and Chrome Nexus is having a look up the inside into turn 12, which is not really a good overtaking spot.
Yeah, I think the decision to underfuel the car is a track like Hungary. It'd be very easy to fuel in that middle sector, as VP Race is very close to being crushed on the run down to turn. At least then one up the inside. No, he does not. The Renault driver does have DRS on the car just ahead of him, which is definitely helping him in this battle. But Tactician, well, he's not I wouldn't say he's a roadblock at this point, but he's definitely holding up the H-Eagle a bit, who seems to have fallen away slightly in the last few laps. I think he started to realise how difficult it is to overtake as VP Racer very, very close on the run towards turn 4. But Tactician clearly does not have the pace to McGrady out front, who has a 3.3 second advantage. And the H-Eagle is now 8 tenths behind the Tactician, but I think the H-Eagle could definitely go faster. It's just so demoralising as a driver when you know that you're faster than someone, but there's just no way of overtaking.
Yeah, I think as we watched the Monaco Grand Prix today, I think that's a lot of drivers will feel that, as we saw. You can just be a tiny bit faster, but it's not fast enough to try and make a move on someone. As Griggs has dropped down to 9th now, I think he's just chewing through his rear tyres. And indeed, he comes in, he makes a pit stop. So this is probably a good time to talk about strategy while the race is kind of settling down at the moment.
I'm trying to tell if he's got front wing damage. It doesn't look like it, but sometimes it's difficult to tell on this game. There is a situation where you can get invisible front wing damage. Don't know where to pick that one up, but definitely a possibility. Because it's not usually like him to struggle that much for pace, but you can go and talk about strategy now, Shane.
Well, I was just going to ask you about that, actually. So, yeah, I was briefly just watching Griggs. It just genuinely looked like he was just chewing through his rear tyres as he goes really wide at turn 2 and loses the back end out of turn 2, actually. So, I think probably something on his setup. Maybe the ballast is too high. He's just, it's not working in race pace at the moment. His back end is very happy and excited at the minute. And he's gone onto the medium. So is that what we can expect? Super soft medium?
Honestly, I genuinely cannot remember that much from this race. I think it will be a super soft medium for these guys. I think all the drivers will be starting to struggle on this red wall tyre pretty soon, and they'll struggle to get to the end on softs, because it's just a much safer choice to go for mediums, because if you go for softs there's no opportunity to overtake a car ahead of you realistically, because you won't have a big enough pace gap, and the only thing it does do is it leaves you slightly exposed at the end of a race if you're struggling on tyres. For all I know, I could be completely wrong, and the drivers could all pit for softs, because I honestly do not remember. But nevertheless, McGrady is looking.
I was just going to say, it's not the first time we've been wrong.
Yeah. As VP McGrady once again is looking very good out front, a 4.4 second gap over Tactician.
Yeah, he's just walking away from everyone else at this point in the race. Tactician just doesn't have the pace, and I'm currently watching VP Vettel Racer right behind Caribbean Crush. I'll be honest, he has got a significant pace advantage. However, he's not fast enough on the straights. If you just quickly go on board with him, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm following him through the broadcast cams, so yeah.
Yeah, if you just look at his straight line speed compared to Caribbean Crush's, even with the DRS, he's falling back on the straights. So he's got, it looks like he's getting very close, up to second. Just very close to the apex, obviously, with the concertina effect. I wonder if the H-Eagle's going to send it down the inside at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he'll want to throw away all those points, as the H-Eagle's picked up a penalty in the most innocuous place I've ever seen. On the exit of turn 3, he's just run wide. Has picked up a penalty for that, which is, well, I mean, it's almost criminal to pick up a penalty in that sort of situation, because just giving yourself a disadvantage. You'll now have 3 seconds added on to his race, but still looking all over the back of Tactician, but we must be getting relatively close now to the pit window for these guys. And well, I suspect the undercut will be quite powerful, because these drivers are definitely starting to struggle. The H-Eagle is 1 second down in the middle sector, so as he's actually got the pit thing up here on his dashboard as well, so someone is surely going to try and attempt the undercut here.
Obviously, and VP Vettel Racers come in.
He's got past Caribbean Crush on that lap. As I went,
yeah, he made a mistake out of turn 3. I think he's made a mistake, or there might have been contact. I haven't seen it. All I saw was Caribbean Crush on the inside, on the exit of turn 3. He was just inside on the grass.
It's also good to know that I was completely wrong, as VP Veta Racer has gone for the soft tyre as well as Iceman, so these drivers are clearly feeling that the soft will get. So apologies for being completely wrong, but these drivers now looking to put in some good tyres. I think Wiggs isn't actually that far behind Iceman, around about 1.5 seconds, so interested to see where he emerges in these battles, as Jeremy James is now caught up to ex-Caribbean Crush, as it sounds like there's some sort of hurricane happening near Shane, but
I've got a fan on, it's hot.
Okay, as the H Eagle is 6 tenths behind Tactician, and surely they've seen the guys behind Pit, and they must have to respond, because I don't know what the gap between H Eagle and VP Veta Racer was, but it definitely wasn't very big. So if these drivers are struggling, then they're going to have to seriously think about pitting as both carry on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the gap was about 1.7 seconds between them, but it's VP McGrady is kind of in the best spot at the moment. He doesn't have to react too early. He can just sit and wait back. Obviously, with that 6-second lead that he's now got over Tactician, he can just respond a lap or two after. I don't think the tyres will go a lap or two longer. I probably expect everyone to come in at the end of this lap as professional. As I look down the inside of Jundu, but Jundu runs slightly wide but keeps a position. So, how much time can VP Vettel Racer catch up to everyone else? I think he's gaining slightly on the leaders, but will it be enough to undercut second and third?
We don't obviously know the pit delta either, but Jundu is struggling me massively on his super soft tyres. I'm really confused as to why he didn't pit on the previous lap, because he just can't find a single apex. Around the final corner on the previous lap, he basically able to let a four-wheel drift. Professional gained about 1 second on corner entry alone, as the Ferrari on that soft tyre that he started on. So his strategy is now starting to be a bit faster. But the guys who are staying out on the super softs, I can only think they've got a little bit of a worry about the softs at the end of the race, because there's no... Oh my god! As Tactician either broke very early, or the H Eagles picked up a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, but that would have shown up for us. So Tactician just braked very early, and the H Eagle nearly ran into the back of him. As obviously Professional and also Jundu carry on. Got a battle in towards turn 1. Oh yes, he did, obviously. As Professional was trying to... the rear end, so now going to cut to VP Veta Racer, and that is not him. He's coming out of the pit lane, and he's a Tactician. So the undercut has worked out for these guys. It was a bizarre call from the Red Bull driver and Toro Rosso to stay out another lap, and the Toro Rosso driver has lost even more. He's all the way down at P5 because he's behind Iceman, Tactician, VP Veta and McGrady.
Well, I am extremely confused. I'll be honest, I'm extremely confused.
What is confusing you?
How has the H Eagle lost almost, what, 2.5, 3 seconds? That's the bit I'm confused about.
I mean, the obvious answer is that it got held up in the pit lane. Has been known to be some sort of bug, glitch, whatever you want to call it, where drivers just get randomly held in the pit lane. It happened to one of the competitors on the PS4 platform for the esports back. This is just supreme as Jundu eventually makes his way to the pit lane. He'll have lost a lot of time and will probably emerge out in last. I would not be surprised. Chronexus went for the medium tyre, which is an interesting call. But he just must be supremely confident. And, well, he's got a big enough gap. He won't have anyone. As ex-Caribbean Crush, I was looking at the action here, because Caribbean Crush, I think it's found way past Jeremy James. Got the run down towards turn 2. The Haas driver trying to look around the outside. Where he had that one stick, and the Renault driver into 8th. I think the Haas driver had got past the Renault with the undercut. And I see Gwiggs just watching on in this battle. Obviously, he picked very early for that medium tyre, but I think he'll still be able to get to the end from here. But nevertheless, the action heating up for the lower end of the point. And as I did say, has emerged out in last. as McGrady finally was coming to the pit lane.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he didn't pit at that, he was going to really put himself under unnecessary pressure from 3P Better Racer, because he lost over a second on the previous lap to the guys who have come in and put fresh tyres on, as he goes on to a set of softs as well. So I think he's going to be fine, as the people who haven't stopped yet and professional and semi-select go past. How far behind is 3P Better Racer going to be? He is probably about 3-4 seconds behind. So 3P Better Racers launched himself into effectively second place here, and Tactician has got to find a way back past him now.
Yeah, the Hash driver had a really bad lock-up in the run into Wells turn 1, forcing quite wide in the apex, and that's not what you need if these drivers are going to start struggling for tyre wear at the end of the race. But I think Tactician's going to find out what the H-Eagle saw in that first stint. It's just incredibly difficult to overtake, and it's massively surprising to me that these guys didn't pit as Cronexus picks up a 3-second time penalty. Especially, I mean, the H-Eagle must have realised that the guys behind had pitted. Tactician might have not noticed that. Surely as a league race you're aware of the track map and can just sort of tell that drivers are coming to the pit lane. It's a very bizarre call to give up track position in this race, and well, it's put them on the back foot heading into the second half of this race, and McGrady has actually caught up to the back of Semi Selic, who very conveniently for the McLaren driver pulls it into the pit lane. So
presumably he's going to go on to a set of mediums to get himself to the end of the race. Is it possible that any of these guys might be team stopping?
No, what?
Right. The H-Eagle has now just got himself a whole bunch of front wing damage, as Tactician is all over the back of BP Better Racer as we head on up the run towards turn 4. BP Better Racer defended very well into turn 2, kept Tactician behind, and it's important for Tactician not to do what the H-Eagle's just done and just half-heartedly just run into the back of the car in front. As you can see, if you go on board with him, the H-Eagle that is, he's now got front left wing damage, because he's just not slowed down enough or reacted to Iceman slowing down for turn 1, and has just driven into the back of him, and now is lost that front left end plate, which is pretty important around here.
Yeah, that's really bad news for the Toro Rosso driver. Jundu has made his way into the final points position. Made a nice move on Cronexus, and that is the Red Bull driver into P10. But yeah, the H-Eagle has really cost himself here, and well, the good news for Iceman is that means he just doesn't have any relief. Races as McGrady has found a way past Professional, I presume a very proud driver, and he should have no problems towards the end of the race. He's got about 2 to 3 that fresher tyres than most of the field. But yeah, it's going back to Iceman. He's got now, well, no pressure on behind until if X-Car being crushed can find a way past the Toro Rosso driver. So, at least if you can just get into some sort of zone and catch up to the guy. Professional is another one to pick up a 3-second time penalty. I'd definitely say it's one of the easier tracks to pick up a time penalty. So it's kind of being crushed and goes into a well. Because especially through turn 4, it's almost a blind corner. And if you don't take any speed through there, you're just losing a lot of lap time. So difficult to be neat and precise for the drivers.
So I think the big winners from this pit stop malarkey that we've gone through is 3P Better Racer, who, remember, at the very start of the race was behind Jamie James, obviously got let through, and then is now up into 3rd place. And Iceman, who was behind a lot of cars, is now effectively in 4th place once Professional pits. So he's launched himself up, which I think in this position where he is now, he'll take. And the H-Eagle pits, so clearly that front wing damage is too much for him to handle, and would think it's probably quicker for him to go into the pits, bang on a new set of tyres with the new front wing, and go to the end of the race.
Yeah. So obviously he's lost so much wing on his left hand that yeah, I'd say it's probably just quicker for him to pit and go to the end like that. But Tactician made a horrible mess at the final corner, really struggled, and almost went into the and had to correct himself to just drop slightly back from Beeple Vet Race. Bull driver is slightly quicker than the Haas driver, and Iceman is now only 1 second behind these two as well. So, to play in a very good drive from both Iceman and Beeple Vet Race, considering where they started. They've gained a lot of positions throughout this race.
Yeah, Iceman's now managed to get himself just about within the DRS zone, the Tactician. So clearly, oh, okay, he's just dropped out of it. Cheers, mate. And he's back in it. Cool. So as VP McGrady just lays down the gauntlet and tells everyone that they're getting absolutely nowhere near him for the rest of the race. With a 1:19, absolutely obliterating the fastest lap previously set by him. Yeah, Iceman in a relatively comfortable position now, I would say. He's just going to, I think, take a few laps to understand where Tactician's weaknesses are, and then go for it when he hopefully gets a bit closer.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for the Renault driver to find a way past, because from most of this stint he's been getting DRS off the house ahead of him, as Jamie James is the next victim of the corner cutting penalties. I don't think any of these three have picked up one so far. I haven't actually seen that, so if Shane could check at some point how many warnings these drivers are on, because we're only on lap 19, so there's a fair way to go for these drivers in terms of picking up more warnings, and that could have a big outcome at the end of the race, especially considering how close these drivers are. And the next problem that Beeple Vet Race has got is that it's coming up to the Ferrari Professional, who is surely close to coming into the pit lane, but is definitely going to hold him up, and might allow an opportunity for the Red Bull or Renault to pounce.
Yes, just going back to what you just said, Iceman's on one warning. Tactician and VP Better Racer have been very good boys and haven't got any warnings at all. So they're keeping it very nicely within the confines of the racetrack.
Good.
Professional is very slow at the minute. Obviously, without pitting, he's on the back foot as a H Eagle now sets the fastest lap, obviously on quite a couple of laps fresher tyres than the race leader. So he clearly demonstrating he has got some pace in that Toro Rosso. And this is going to help Tactician and Iceman get closer and all bunch up while they're behind Professional. As we saw, Tactician's made a mistake, hasn't he? He's gone off.
Yeah, just was on board with it. Well, not on board with Iceman. We got a very good view of that. It's made a horrible error. Just lost the car in the middle sector, and that has dropped him behind Iceman and also Caribbean Crush. Red Bull down into P6, it'll be a net P5 when Professional pits, but that's a horrible error from the Red Bull driver, and I don't think he'll suffer too much in the rest of this lap. Obviously onto the grass, but that'll go very quickly off his tyres. But yeah, a horrible error from Tactician, and not something we've seen very much, as Beeple Vet Racer has found a way past Professional in towards turn 1. And well, he'll be hoping Professional stays out for a couple of laps, because this could allow the Haas driver to build a bit of a gap to the Renault behind him. But yeah, Tactician, just a very bizarre mistake to make, and it's cost him some critical position here.
Did he get on the curb or the AstroTurf behind it, or what? I didn't see what happened, or was he just spun up the rear tyres? It was
very difficult to tell, as Professional not taking the chicane at all, just given the position to Iceman. So yeah, it allows Iceman to stay with Beeple Vet Race for the time being. But yeah, I wasn't really watching Tactician throughout that time. The first I saw him, he was just losing the car, and I was onto the grass. So I think he's just lost the car mid-apex, and then obviously because he's on the pad, it's so hard to correct. And then he just ended up on the grass and losing a lot of time. But I mean, Crush is definitely not slow in this race, as find some decent pace in the second stint, so struggled to find a way past the Renault driver. As Professional carries on for another lap until lap 22 of this soft stint. The drivers should have no worries in terms of getting the tires to the end. But what this is doing is backing being crushed up into Tactician and Jamming James, who's only 1 second behind the Red Bull. As they head up towards turn 4. No opportunity to make a take there, but it's Caribbean Crush is so close now. In towards the middle sector. As Professional runs slightly wide there. But no of him getting past. And Professional's just massively struggling for grip at this point.
Yeah, I would say he's going to come in at the end of this lap because he's now losing a unnecessary amounts of time. I think the Super Softs will probably get to the end from here, and VP Vettel Racer, McGrady, proven, and Professional once again being extremely generous. And I'm surprised he's done that because obviously, if you can hold them up for long enough, it might help him later on in the race. Has he thought about pitting? Decided not to. It's an odd choice.
It's a very bizarre call, but throughout that middle sector, he just held up his Caribbean Crush a lot, and it allows Tactician an opportunity down in towards turn 1. The Red Bull driver up the inside, finds the apex. Caribbean Crush might have a chance back in towards turn 2 now. He'll have the inside line, but Tactician with that DRS is just further and off alongside. Caribbean Crush goes in quite deep. He's a little bit of a nudge, and then there's contact on the turn 3 that was. And it didn't look like the driver did anything wrong, but there was contact there, and Caribbean Crush was forced. Well, he was just off the track, nearly into the wall, and he sustained a lot of front wing damage. So I was surely have to pit, but Tactician just good move on the Renault driver there, and that Crush was a bit optimistic into turn 2 from it looked from the broadcast cams. Obviously, that might not be how it played out, but. Yeah, Caribbean Crush has definitely lost out in that fight.
Yeah, the damage came on the exit because I was on board with Caribbean Crush, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's done nothing wrong. It's just looked like Tacticians just come across him and completely wiped off that front right end plate, and it's gonna have to pit because that looks like a lot of damage. You can barely get into the pit lane entry, so that's cost him an awful lot of time and a lot of points, sadly. Professional finally comes in.
Yeah, and at some point, Jamming James has come into the pit lane as well.
Yeah, he also had damage to his front right, so he's had an incident somewhere as well.
Unfortunately, didn't catch that one. But the H-Eagle is now up into P9, so he'll at least get some points for his efforts. Well, at the current point, obviously drivers behind who are on Super Softs might have a chance. Professionals come out in P10, and a fresh set of Super Softs. Fancy his chance of getting that P9 off the Toro Rosso driver. But the big battle right now so far is this battle for P2, and the battle between the two drivers are currently on the podium. But Iceman is finding that a very common problem of just not being able to find a way past. I think these drivers are very similarly matched in terms of pace as well, so that just makes Iceman's challenge even more greater.
I'll have a look at that. VP Vettel race was quite wide out in the last corner. Will this give Iceman the run on the run down towards turn 1? I think Iceman's got more pace as he's made VP Vettel racer feel the need to go defensive. This will give him a better run out of turn 2. Will the Haas go to the inside again for turn 2? No, he does not. So, into well, we're about to go up to the middle sector. I think Iceman's got slightly more raw pace, obviously on, I think, 2 or 3 lap fresher tyres than the car in front of him.
They're pitted on the same lap.
Did they?
Yeah, they both went for the undercut.
Ow. Well, I think Iceman's just got more pace then, because he's doing, I think, 20.7s. And Better Race is doing 20.9, so it's only a couple of tenths. It's fast nonetheless. Obviously, considering how much earlier they pitted than the guys around them, It's no wonder that, and with the just pace that McGrady's showing up front in a class of his own, he's just walking off the road as Caribbean Crush picks up another penalty. Probably surprised with the amount of grip that he's now got on those new super softs. Kind of, I want to see Iceman just lunge it down the inside. I'll be honest.
Yeah, but he's he drove a very good race today from where he started to get all the way up into P3. Yeah, they both have. They've both driven very well, and not made mistakes like many other drivers today. And well, if you can, at least around about half the grid have made race that have severely compromised their races. So these two have kept it clean and definitely had the right call in to come into the pit lane early, and that's helped them greatly. As Jeremy James now sets the fastest lap on a 19.2. I think that'll slightly irritate McGrady, who definitely feel like he'll deserve it, considering how much pace he's got. But he's currently 11.5 seconds ahead of this battle, which is absolutely incredible pace. As I mean, last time we saw him back in Bahrain, I mean, he probably had the pace to win that day, but lost track position to Stocky about halfway through the race, from what I remember. I think during the pit stop sort of window, I think Stocky just found an opportunity to find a way past, and then McGrady just wasn't able to make that move, and that's what cost him the win today. But no such issues at the Hungaro ring as we go on to lap 27. Iceman's only 4 tenths behind on the run down towards turn 1. Only 3 tenths off his fastest lap, which shows that still pretty good life in these soft tyres. But just wonder if Iceman can get close enough out of the final corner, and then maybe if he can force VP Vet Race to go defensive into towards turn 1, he might be able to set the move up in towards turn 2.
Here's a quick little fun fact for you, because I just looked on the stats that we've got here. Every time, wow, Caribbean Crush doing a 19.1, and Tactician just getting a penalty as well, which kind of cements his chances of not getting a podium today. Quick little stat for you. Every time someone has won a race by this kind of dominant margin, Iceman has finished second. At the moment, he's in third, challenging for second, so the omens are kind of there for him to take that place. Obviously, I have no doubt in my mind that Iceman can go at least 3-4 tenths a lap faster than VP Raffle Racer in front of him. If he can get a good enough run out of this sequence of corners, he looks closer than he has been before. This might be his chance to get a run into turn 1. Let's see. Okay, no, that's just the timing being a bit wrong there. Oh, he has got a chance. VP Raffle Racer goes defensive into turn 1. Iceman takes to the outside, the only place he can go. Going to set himself up for a good run on the run down towards turn 2. VP Raffle Racer going to the middle of the track this time, and Iceman choosing to go a little bit cautious into turn 2 and chooses the outside line and to brake early. But things are going to get tasty.
Yeah, Tactician's got a bigger problem with his penalty though. Obviously not going to find a way into the podium today, but he's going to find himself probably relegated to P5, because at the moment Jundu is quicker than his teammate. That got down to 1.9 seconds now between those two. So as McGrady picks up a 3-second time penalty. Oh my god!
Oh, no!
He stacked it in the barrier on the exit of turn 11.
My god. Wow, I'm speechless. The man who had absolutely commanded this race has binned it.
Oh
he
my!
is going to be so angry with himself for that. Meanwhile, we've got to go back to the battle for which is now for first place, with that spin and damage to VP McGrady. VP Better Racer going defensive again into turn 1. What can Iceman do? Oh, he's got a very good run this time. This is going to be his best chance in the run down to turn 2. VP Better Racer goes right to the inside. Iceman around the outside. Can he hold it? He brakes a bit later.
Oh my!
VP Better Racer tries to squeeze him.
I thought he had the move there, Iceman, if he just found the traction on the exit, around the outside of turn 2 there, but VP Vet Racer did a great job of defending that, but Iceman, I think he's, I think he's more willing to take a gamble now. He's not going to be gaining 3 points if he finds a way past VP Vet Racer. He's gaining 7, which is a big shift in the championship, and at the moment, Jundu is going to be stepping onto the podium here, because that penalty... Actually, has Jundu got a penalty? We just need to check that before we go blabbing on about if Jundu is going to be on the podium. But Tactician is gaining on these two. We got down to 1.9, obviously, with all the battling that these two are doing. It's really changed up this race, but I have actually beached thrown it away here. He actually picked up a 3-second time penalty literally moments before he crashed. I'm guessing he ran wide through turn 11 and then just got onto that curve, which can be so unforgiving. If you put the traction down, especially on worn tyres that these guys are suffering, then it's just spit him out, and he's really struggled as a VP Vet Racer. I think he's starting to struggle on his tyres because he's run wide once again through turn 1. Iceman's got a good opportunity to run down towards turn 2, trying to brake late, and he needs to really force VP Vet Racer to compromise his line through turn 1, and then he might have a chance in towards turn 2, very close on towards turn 4, but there's just not a big enough break as Jundu has now to a 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, I was just about to say Jundu was on 2 warnings and he's only just gone and got one, so now it's pretty much status quo at Red Bull. 3 and 4 at the moment, so they're going to do their constructors bid pretty well, with the H Eagle down in 9th, and obviously his teammate Peter Stockwin not attending this race. As long as they keep it on the road, obviously it's very easy to stack it in the wall, as we've just seen, and this is definitely helping Tactician and Jundu catch up to these guys now. As I think I 100% agree with you. I think VP Vet Races is going as Iceman gets ever closer coming out the last corner. But
yeah,
if he places his car well, which he's doing at the moment, he's gone all the way to the inside for turn 1 again. Iceman has to go to the left.
Oh,
and he's going to try around the outside. There's damage. Well, I wouldn't say damage, but now he's got so much more better traction. VP Vet Racer gives him the squeeze up towards turn 2, and Iceman has the inside this time and sits it on the apex so that the Haas can't get the switch back on him, and that is Iceman into the lead and on course to win for the first time this season.
What a move there from the Renault driver. As I said, he just compromised VP Vet Racer so much through turn 1, and then he just had the inside line for turn 2, and a brilliant move there from the Renault driver. But well, we've got an interesting last few laps here, because VP Vet Racer definitely starting to struggle on the soft compound, but he has stuck with Iceman through this middle sector. But it does appear that the Renault driver just had a sheer advantage in straight line speed. I don't know what wings Vettel Racer's running, but he's really struggling at the end of the straight, because Iceman just gains so much on him. But the Haas driver has stuck with Iceman here, and it's a depression really getting to Iceman here, because he just made a great move to the lead, but now he's got to go and bolt away. And that's easier said than done in this sort of league racing environment, as Iceman feels the need to go defensive. But as we saw earlier in the race as well, the Haas driver's straight line speed just isn't good enough, and Iceman's able to defend for the time being.
That's going to frustrate him an awful lot as well. There's nothing more painful when you see a car just pulling away from you on a straight, because you know you want to go for it. Your instincts are telling you to go for it, and you just can't, because otherwise you're just going to make contact and have a rather pathetic and pointless accident, which can cost them so many points. And points make the difference at the end of the day, and there's no point just risking a move that can just completely ruin your race, especially when there's just 3.5 laps to go. But all eyes turn to probably Tactician now, because it's important for him to minimise the damage, because as it stands, he will lose the championship lead.
Yeah, the problem he's got though, even if he finds a way past VP Vet Racer, he's got to pull a 3-second gap in 3 and a little bit lap. So that's pretty much mission impossible at this point, considering Iceman's another roadblock only 4 tenths ahead. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult. And Iceman, who showed a lot of pace behind the Haas driver, looks so comfortable sticking with him, and just hasn't been able to pull away, which I'm quite surprised by. Vettel Racer once again round the final corner, looks pretty close, but it's just really infuriating now for the Haas driver because there's just no way for him to get past unless he gets in sector somewhere, which I'm sure Iceman will be very much aware of as the Caribbean Crush picks up a 3-second tap penalty. There's actually a lot of action happening further back. It's just so difficult to keep track of everything. Got a battle this important for the lead. It's so difficult to cut away because we don't want to miss anything. But Jundu's still watching on, and if Tactician gets involved in any sort of fights with Vettel Racer ahead, it could give his teammate the podium, especially if he gets compromised.
Yeah, the action behind is kind of all bottlenecked in a train behind Gwiggs on the mediums. He stopped quite early for those mediums as well, so his pace is starting to go at the end of this race as well. But I think the main point of attraction is definitely going to be for this lead battle. So you stick with that. I'll let you know if anything happens behind.
Okay. As the VP of that race is really starting to struggle on his tyres. Tactician having to look around the outside of turn 13. That'd have been some incredible move if he was able to pull that one off. But very, very close. Now through the final corner. Can he get good traction on this main straight? The problem he's got is the DRS. But that's a struggle in a straight line. Look how much Tactician's gain on turn 1. He's forced the Haas driver to go defensive. This is great news for Iceman just ahead. VP of that racer very good on the brakes, not wanting a repeat of the move that he suffered only a couple of laps ago, and now he has the luxury to go defensive towards turn 2. But it's gone deep, gone very, very deep. I think he might have been able to hold on to it, and although no, he's lost the car slightly through turn 3. Sorry, Tactician tried to look round the outside towards turn 4. That would have been incredible if he pulled that one off. Not able to do it. Where's John doing all this? Just behind these guys. And Iceman now has a 1 point offer, which is very much what he wants to see, to be honest. Because I think he'll start to get a bit worried with VP of that racer so close every lap. But Tactician is hounding that Haas through the middle sector. And if he can stay that close onto the main straight, then surely he can find a way past us. I've just received an awful lot of lag through that middle sector.
I mean, it was the right thing for Tactician to attack like that, because now he's outside the DRS of Iceman now, as VP Vettel Racer. So he's going to be even slower on a straight, on this pit straight this time around. But if Tactician, well, I mean, he's slightly further behind this time around, but he's definitely going to have the straight line speed to try and attack into turn 1. VP Vettel Racer goes defensive again into turn 1. It's the apex nicely. Tactician tries to set himself up for a good run on the exit, and he has got a good run. VP Vettel Racer defends again into turn 2. Tactician's late on the brakes. Is he going to try and go all the way around the outside?
My God!
Yes, he is. Very close on the exit. And as you know, they're side by side up the run towards turn 4. No, Tactician's ahead now. And, well, another great move. I didn't expect these moves to be happening, to be honest, but I think the main difference is VP Vettel Racer has to be running a bit more wing to try and help him in the middle sector, because he's just so slow on the pit straight. Yeah.
VP Vettel Racer hasn't got to do anything stupid, though. I mean, he doesn't have any penalties, I don't. From what I've seen throughout this race. So, don't we do anything stupid like running to the back of the Red Bull drivers. Second place will be his. Very close. And we've actually onto the final lap. These final few laps are who qualified, I think, 8 and or P9, has driven an incredible race. A professional retired on the final lap in P8. That's heartbreak for him. Iceman takes an incredible win in Hungary. VP of that racer does come home in P2, P3. Tactician's teammate Jundu comes home P4. Oh, incredible. Really struggled in the first stint, pitted very early and comes home P5. He's very happy about that. Next was P6, the H-Eagle P7, Semi-Celic P8. H-Jeremy Crush will be 9th and Jamie James 10th. But wow, it was actually 8th, so there was more penalties. But oh my god, so much action in those final few laps. But I think the big starting point is McGrady, who had that race under control, has thrown it away.
Yeah, professional stacked it in the wall on the outside as well. Actually lost his left rear tyre which is a rather weird accident to have. But anyway, Iceman definitely has to be the driver of the day. Very calm and collected driving, as he always seems to show. Went for the opportunities when they were there for him, and pulled the masterstroke in going for the undercut, getting ahead of those cars that he didn't need to fight. And from 10th on the grid to 1st, it's a great drive from the Renault driver. And now elevates himself into the championship lead.
What a win. Incredible drive. Great overtake on VP with that racer who comes home P2. He shouldn't be too unhappy with that because he drove a great race himself. Tactician comes home P3, John Do 4th, RC Griggs 5th, Cronex is 6th, the H Eagle 7th, Jeremy James does get up into 8th, Semi-Solid 9th, and Ex-Caribbean Crush rounds out the point scores. And Professional, heartbreakingly, retires on the final lap when he was looking good for a decent haul of points there. But wow, unbelievable, really, as two drivers stacked it in the same place. And I cost himself, but McGrady must be absolutely kicking himself.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything worse than. I mean, I've done it myself, ironically, at Hungary as well, as you famously know. There's no worse feeling than being in a position where you know you can just push at will and open up the gap to everyone, especially when you have a 13-second lead over everyone else. And to just lose it in what is seemingly a blink of an eye is just painful.
Yeah, utter heartbreak from the McLaren driver, but it was the Renault Iceman who was able to capitalise. And as Shane did say, that puts him into the lead of the championship. He'll have a 6-point gap to Tactician now, and they're quite well ahead of Stocky, who's obviously missed the last 2 rounds. But, well, I mean, I have to say, it wasn't looking to be a great race, but it flipped in those last 10 laps. Some great action there. And any last words, Shane?
I mean, surprisingly, I'm a bit speechless.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be, but I was definitely speechless to see McGrady in all. That I did not expect. As it shows, very typically, it's not over until every single car crosses the finish line.
Yeah, and well, McGrady will live and learn, and he'll come back stronger next time out in Spa. But until then, it's bye-bye.